All right, guys, welcome back to the Walleye Files. Brandon Ruffalo here, and we have got a great show for you this week. We've got the back-to-back champions of the Michigan Walleye Tour with the team of Rande Woodland, Chris Ross, and Shaun Frantz. Guys, they were awesome people to talk to. They were a lot of fun, really good anglers, and really they've only been doing this for 3 years. I mean, they've competed. They've been close for Team of the Year. They broke through last year with a championship win, and then here they are again. They win another championship. They're going to detail their win and the story behind how they did it. Long boat runs and big waves, only a couple hours of fishing time. It's crazy. So super excited. Hopefully you guys really enjoy listening to me sit down and talk with those guys. Life is good right now. Hopefully it's good for everybody else. Very busy. I actually leave, I don't know when this episode airs, probably 2 or 3 weeks from now for a Newfoundland moose hunt with my dad. I'm super excited for that. That is something I've been looking forward to for a long time. My little sister's getting married here in a few weeks as well. Very busy schedule coming up for me. But life is good. Hopefully life is treating you all well. Speaking of being treated well, we can't do this without our amazing sponsors: Lake Effect Lures, Bellevue Spice Company, Thunderhook Fly-In, Striker Brands, and Walleye Nation Creations. Guys, I am very fortunate to work with some amazing companies. There are great people who run those companies. If you know me, I will not present something that I don't fully trust in, and all the people and all those companies are amazing. They've been great to me. They've been great to my friends and family and everybody else that I don't want to say push to, but encourage people to go try out and check out. So again, check out those amazing companies. They're great. And the boys from the Michigan Walleye Tour. Thanks. Welcome back to the Walleye Files, guys. We are with the back-to-back Michigan Walleye Tour champions. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
Doing awesome.
Good.
It's great to have you guys on. I was talking to some guys with Lake Effect. Obviously, we are both affiliated with Lake Effect Lures. I think you guys are with Church Tackle, which I'm also with. No, you're not.
Not anymore.
Okay, I get it. Too much live scoping, I understand.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Well, either way, I'm super happy to have you here. I'm glad this worked out where we could all sit down and talk a little bit. And we'll jump into it right away. Why don't you guys introduce yourself? Shaun, we can start with you.
Well, I'm Shaun Frantz. I'm from Twin Lake, Michigan, over on the west side of the state. And yeah, we started tournament fishing, I think I did like 4 years ago. And then I also run a charter business too, when on the side of working full time. And yeah.
Awesome. Randy and Chris, why don't you guys talk a little bit about who you guys are too, where you're from?
Yeah. My name is Rande Woodland. I'm from Fremont, Michigan, and I actually just started walleye fishing 3 years ago.
Jeez.
Yeah, Chris Ross from Twin Lake, Michigan here. I really started fishing the tournaments with Randy. Started 3 years ago. And before that, just life and everything's too busy at the time to really get involved like this with it. But I had a year where coaching slowed down. My girls I coach were in high school, so Randy contacted me and said, "Hey, what do you think about doing walleye tournaments?" And just happened to have a window and decided to get into it. I didn't really know Shaun much at the time, but met him, and we hit things off pretty quickly. I realized right away we worked together well as a team, and the last 3 years have been incredible. It's a fun team to work with, and super proud and happy to be here on this guy.
Yeah, and I've got when I do interviews with people, I deep dive pretty hard into their backgrounds as far as fishing. I mean, you've got some incredible finishes, guys, over the last couple of years. 2023, fourth in Team of the Year. You've got 3 top 15s. 2024, championship win, 2 top 12s. 2025, you've got 3rd place for Team of the Year, 20th on Detroit, 17th on Erie, 4th on the Sioux, and then obviously another win in the championship. What do you guys think is the biggest contributing factor to your guys' success over the last 3 years?
I'd probably have to say that we each have some type of input and we never argue. I think that's the biggest number one as far as like a 3-man team that I've seen a lot of people struggle with is like the arguments and not agreeing. We all take each other's input into consideration and we don't argue about it. We put everything together and go with the best solution.
Also, everybody has, I think, different strong points in the way they fish, and we utilize that on the water to help us be as successful as possible. Very rarely am I throwing the same thing as someone else. And, if someone else is catching them, yeah, we might have another lure or bait that's similar to it, but we always have something that's kind of different, right? You have your finesse more like baits, and then you have something like a reaction type bait. So we're always trying to figure out what the next bite's going to be. And I think that has helped many times where my bites slowed down, Randy's picked them up, and the same thing with Shaun. I mean, it's always come in handy to kind of use that everybody's different strengths to come out successful.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things too. We all, I mean, 3 of us, we pretty much fish the same, but we have our own little technique on how we work the baits and stuff, and we all know how each other fish, so we kind of do our own thing. And then once, there's days where we might as well just sit down with the nets, wait for Chris all day because he's just one after another. But we all have days that are like that, and then there's some days we're just all on it. And yeah, kind of definitely like Randy was saying, all of us get along. There is no, I want to do this, I want to do that. We all got inputs. We got reasons why we do that, and everything's just worked out smoothly. And it's honestly out of a lot of teams that seems like there's always falling outs of different things and stuff, but seems like us 3 go along pretty smooth together.
That's really awesome.
The way we fish too. I mean, we started out as trollers, to be honest with you. That's where I was most confident with was trolling, and we had some success right away. We made some bad decisions that first year on Lake Erie, which I think cost us Team of the Year because we were on the right fish. We didn't go with what our gut was telling us. We tried to play it conservatively to make the championship because really at that time, that's what we want to do is make the championship. That's the coolest thing in the world. When realistically, had we day one on Lake Erie gone where we knew the fish were, day 2 we went there and we got them. Things would have been differently. So after that, it was kind of like we got to go with what we know is going to win, or make us most successful, and not just fish just to get a few fish in the bowl. And we're here to compete.
And another thing with that, we noticed too, most of these national events, and as far as the Michigan Walleye Tour, a lot of the guys in the top were starting at live scope or were using live scope, and we knew that we had to change our fishing methods, and when we switched over to live scope and put a lot of time and effort into practicing, that one thing, and I think that's really paid off for us.
This episode of the Walleye Files is brought to you by Lake Effect Lures, the tackle that turns every cast into a catch. Built for serious anglers, tested on real fish, and proven to get bites when nothing else will. Get yours at lakeeffectlures.com.
I don't think people realize just how much work we've done on our own outside of the tournaments to get better at live scope. I mean, it's nothing you can just jump right into, and it's not plug in and play, and there the fish are, you're going to catch them. Like, there are the way they react to your baits and learning, what you're seeing, what you got to do next. I mean, there's times you pull the bait above their head, and sometimes they want it to the bottom. I mean, there's a lot of work that also I think comes into play with live scope that people just don't understand. And again, time on the water is everything with this, and gaining that confidence and that knowledge of what you're seeing and what you need to do next.
Yeah, biggest thing too is having the confidence in it. If you don't have the confidence, you're not going to catch a fish. It's pretty much plain and simple. Like that year on Erie that Chris was just talking about, I think I was down there for about a week pre-fish, and I just ended my guiding down in Detroit River, and I just went straight down to Lake Erie for the week. And out of the week of pre-fishing, my goal was, I'm like, we're gonna get on a casting bite. Well, I think I probably casted for an hour total out of that week because you go in and you're like, yep, 5 casts into it, and you're like, nope, they're not here. And then you start trolling and start catching them, and then we finally got rid of the whole trolling thing and just focus a lot of our times just off season too. I mean, as soon as we can put boats in the water and all the way until it freezes, just a casting rod in our hand and trying to figure out what a walleye looks like on the screen and what's not a walleye and how big they are. But once you get them first few and build that confidence up, it definitely helps out.
So take me through, guys. Take me through your win this year on the Michigan Walleye Tour Championship. From practice kind of through the tournament. You don't have to spend a whole lot of time talking about it, but just what were you seeing in practice as far as trends or things you expected to see? Where was that bite going? And just kind of talk me through how the tournament went.
So right away, you know, for Austin, I don't have any experience over there. And kind of looking at the way the water was setting up, you know, we knew what was going on up in Alpena. I knew there were going to be a lot of guys that are going to make that run. I mean, it is what it is. You know, National Walleye Tour, those guys were up there last year. And I would say this year we're about a week or two behind that, knowing that the water temperature was still right there. The size of fish were going to be there. Like, you got to go where you're most confident, where you think the winning bag's going to be. Now, at the same time, Harbor Beach, I know, was a place where a lot of guys have done very well, and even around that poor Austin. But seeing the water moving how much it was going to be moving, and then looking north, what the weather was going to be, wind speed, it was like the most stable water is probably going to be up that way. So right away, you know, I went up there. We started camping for pre-fishing up there. Spent 2 days on the water there. Again, we found a lot of fish. Like, it was insane the amount of fish we caught up there.
Yep.
But you go into that and you say, okay, if we're doing that well, I'm sure everybody doing that well. You know, you get the occasional 5, 6, 7 pounders. So after pre-fishing up there, we talked, and I was thinking it was going to be low 50s that was going to win this. And then when we got to you know, the meeting, and people were talking about, you know, you're thinking it's gonna be lower than that. Like, okay, maybe we are onto something. And so it was a lot of just watching the water temp, and now having Seagull, it's something that we can kind of see what the water temp is at the time, what the future cast is going to be. The area we found fish, the water was going to be stable. It wasn't going to move too much from what they were showing. So that's kind of what made us decide to stay in this general area where we knew the fish were there. We found them. They were shallower than what we had expected, to be honest with you. And we had fished off the drops in the deeper water and caught some nice fish. But there was a couple certain areas where just those bigger fish were holding. And we didn't catch any big kickers like some of the guys that again went up there. We had just good, consistent, average size. And I mean, if you can do that, you're gonna stay pretty competitive and consistent at the top. So, you know, thankfully we did have one day where it blew pretty well, but the water didn't move much. It went down a degree or two, and they were there both days. I mean, that first day we went up there, we had 24 pounds. We knew around 24 and a half, and we were like, I don't know where we're gonna be. Like, we know there's bigger fish around here. But even I remember Randy made the comment, no, there's a chance we could be in the lead with what we have after talking to someone. And we went back to the weigh, and I wasn't thinking anything like that. And then to see we're 2 pounds ahead of the second place team was like, oh my gosh, this is insane. We have a chance.
I will tell you, we did have a pretty crazy idea after the first 2 days of pre-fishing in Alpena. I actually spent a day and a half up in Sault Ste. Marie, which was going to be 156-mile run, or
detour.
Yeah, detour area, not Sault Ste. Marie. But anyway, the detour area, which would have been an absolutely insane run. Because I had ran up there. I fished the National Walleye Tour out of Alpena this year. I ended up taking 15th, and I ran up to the detour area where Isaac won it. My fish had kind of moved a little bit, and luckily Isaac stayed for him. But anyway, so we had this crazy idea if I could go up there, and good thing I went up there the first day. I had 28 pounds in less than 30 minutes. So we're like, we're gonna make this run. You know, absolutely crazy run. I had to stop for fuel twice on the way there and twice on the way back. We'd have had a grand total of 1 hour and 5 minutes to fish. And that's with weather conditions being perfect. And then luckily I checked it the morning before I headed back down to Alpena, and I couldn't get them fish to go in the early, in the allotted time that we would have had. So luckily I went back down to Alpena the last day, and we found some fish. I spent an hour there. I was like, okay. I said, I pulled the mid-20s bag there in an hour. And I said, this is where we're fishing. and that was kind of our game plan. But I'm just glad that them fishing the Sioux didn't go. We probably would have made that run day one.
And we made sure that like you can't hit the water before 10 o'clock because that's when we're going to be there. Like you gotta fish it the way we would fish it if we're going to be in this tournament, and make that run or make that run there. And thankfully, within that hour and a half, it just wasn't happening. And, there's no. I mean, that was just. I still can't believe we even considered it.
Looking back, there's no way we would have been able to do it.
It's not that crazy. It's really not. Like it is because it's extreme. But dude, I ran 97 miles one way to fish for one bite last year in the National Walleye Tour on Green Bay on my favorite place in the world, and I got one bite. And I would do it again for that one bite. I would do it again.
You just never. The thing is with them far runs is if they're not biting, you have no backup plan at that point. And that was kind of our thought on that is if we're not getting them Alpina, at least we have some type of backup plan. We know that area well enough. We can go somewhere else and get something. Scratch together like a mid-teens bag.
So, which one was sweeter, your first championship or your second championship win?
First one.
First one for sure.
That was just like, you're uncomfortable, you're nervous.
We've never been there before. That was the biggest thing, and it was an inland lake. And luckily we never being there before. Luckily, we found some stuff that we recognized. Okay, we might be able to do well in this tournament because we found some shallow water weed bite, and that's our absolute favorite type of bite: shallow water and weeds.
It was just kind of crazy because early in the year, I think I talked about when Lance was talking with us or his team is, me and Randy had fished some inland lakes with weeds, and we were ripping paddle tails through them, and just to see it come into play in that championship, even pre-fishing, we did it a little bit, but it wasn't until like the day before last day that we could pre-fish that we went into this area and found these fish. And again, we didn't catch any giants out there, but there were solid fish. And they were just hammering the paddle tails.
And of course, that during that first championship too, day before the event, we have a huge cold front come in. What did it drop? Almost 30 degrees. Yeah. It went from 80s down into the low 50s and 25-mile-an-hour winds on day one. And I think our troll motor batteries died by 11:30. So it was a good thing we ended up getting the bag. We did that fast.
Yeah, we're using the main motor just to keep us. Again, we used it this last championship. We had to go in reverse into the waves just to keep us from blowing over the fish. And we did that last championship. We did it this championship. It worked, and that's what comes back to working together as a team, right? If you got to be the one on the motor, that's your job. You got to do what you got to do for the team, and it played into us coming out winning a championship. And last year we didn't use a single crawler at all. We used all plastics. Yeah. And this year, I started with, I think I had a jig and wrap, I had search bait, and I had a split tail on. But with that wind, making those accurate casts and the time we had, jig and crawler's been hot this year, and it worked well. But it's just nice to know that you got people on this team that can throw so many different baits and have the confidence, and it comes into play big time when these tournaments.
Yeah, I think going back to what you said about which one was sweeter, I think that first one was probably sweeter just because we found out we could compete with these guys. That was the nice thing.
This episode of the Walleye Files is brought to you by Thunderhook Fly-Ins, the premium fly-in fishing destination in Ontario, Canada. Trophy walleyes, giant pike, and remote wilderness adventures await. Book your trip now at thunderhook.com.
It gave us a confidence boost going into this year that we ended.
Shaun, when did it sink in for you guys that you were going to win this championship this year?
This last one?
Yeah.
I don't like they were saying, like we were expecting little higher bags each day, and I was busy with work, so I didn't get the time to pre-fish like I wanted to. So I only got one day to pre-fish, and I actually went out Port Austin that day, and Chris and I did. And we're trying to figure, we got to find something close just in case of weather. And we found all kinds of fish, and it was fun. I mean, we were fishing from, I think we caught fish from like 75 foot all the way out past 100 foot of water out live scoping. And, but it was most of all the fish, they were 2 to 3 pound fish. Like, if you wanted to fill the freezer, you could have a heyday out there. And it just, there was no any bigger size average fish out there. And with, what they found over in Alpena, that was, we knew that water was going to stay in there how we wanted to with the wind being protected, and versus that water out in the open basin was getting blown around. And out there, them fish were moving so much. You're fishing 75 foot of water. They're down about 30 foot. And you'd have to lead them by 30 foot, because by the time your jig even got down to them, they were already gone. They were just swimming around chasing bait and just cruising. And when we went over there, I knew we had a pretty decent bag, but I'm like, all right, you always think like someone else, they got them. You never think like, oh yeah, we got them. You're always thinking in the back of your mind like, we did good, but we already know someone's pulling in over 30 pounds. And then starting to see all these numbers go up on the stage and stuff like that, and it's like, all right, these big bags are gonna be coming soon. And then next thing you know, we're the big bag, and I was like, huh, kind of shocked on day one. And then with what we had day two, I'm like, usually if you put up the same weight day two or better than you do day one, you usually 9 times out of 10 seems like you sit in about the same area or move up. Because that's a lot of things. Like guys will, they'll pull a 30-pound bag day two, but can they repeat it, or day one, but can they do it day two? And a lot of times we try and find that, we can shoot in the dark, try to get that 30-pound bag, but it could be a 30-pound bag or 5-pound. Or do we just go for a consistent 25-pound bag 2 days in a row and hope it sits out right? And it definitely did. And it's kind of funny. It came down to us and the same team as last year in the championship too. And so we ended up taking it, and they took second, and just like last year. And it's kind of, I knew when we were sitting at the tanks that kind of pushing numbers around in my head that I'm like, I'm pretty sure we got this. And yeah, my heart was definitely racing before he even hit the stage. And I'm like, there's no way we just did this 2 years in a row.
Who's more nervous out of the three of you guys at the weigh-in?
Oh man,
Hi, Shaun.
probably.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I was kind of sitting at the bump tanks reassuring them. I'm like, I'm pretty sure, looking at the weights that we got this. Unfortunately, the team that was sitting in second place, they didn't make it back in time, so they couldn't weigh in their bag. Which pushed them. Which, I mean, we figured they had a good bag because they were in the same area that we were. It was a horrible way for them to end their tournament. It sucked, because great guys and everything like that, great fishermen. And I would have rather come down to a showdown like that. But I think that's when we realized, that I think we probably got this one. And our teammates actually that were sitting in fourth, they didn't make it back either, unfortunately, due to the weather. And speaking of that, that's kind of when we're like, all right, I think we got this one, but the weather played a huge factor in our decisions on that. Do we go back with the 21 pounds we got? Is that way we can make it back to weigh in, or do we thought about sticking it out for another half hour to an hour and seeing if we could upgrade our bag more? But the more we talked about it, and the more that southeast wind started picking up, by the time we got off the water, I think the southeast wind was at 19 mile an hour.
But that place,
it was
no
just
thank
rough.
you.
It took us 3 hours to get back.
Yeah.
No.
3.5, wasn't it?
3.5 hours, yeah.
Yeah.
Our average speed is 20 mile an hour.
Yeah, we rolled up there day two, and it was supposed to be southwest wind, and probably in the first 15 minutes we had 4 nice fish in the box, and we're like, all right, like this is gonna be a good morning. And I looked to the north, and there's just this thickest, nastiest looking cloud. I'm like, guys, this does not look good. And within 20 minutes, not even, it was over us. It was rain sideways the whole time we were there. And
winds with that storm front.
yeah, it went from like nice to, just 20 plus mile an hour winds, and then you had
320.
zero boat control. And that's the thing too, especially when you're trying to live scope, if you don't have boat control either, like, you're not going to do as good. That's one of the big key things to be able to make a good cast, line yourself up straight. And so that's when I put my rod down and got on the big motor so we could actually fish efficiently and not just sling jigs around wherever. Yeah, we fished for a little while and we didn't want to chance it. We knew with good weather, it took us an hour and a half to get there. And we weren't sure what we were going to come across to because it switched to a southeast wind. So we had to beat into them all the way. And yeah, like Randy was saying, it took us a little over 3 hours to make it back. And we would have had more time to fish because we showed up, about.
This episode of the Walleye Files is brought to you by Striker Brands, built to keep you warm, dry, and fishing longer. From ice to open water, their gear handles whatever Mother Nature throws at you. Find yours at strikerbrands.com. Go early, go late, and go prepared.
About 35 minutes left before we had to be back in. So we just kind of hung out in the harbor and more just like we still are all in one piece after that boat ride. Because that was one boat ride I hope I don't ever have to experience again. It was not very fun.
Yeah,
I'm
I
actually
can't
going to
imagine.
Yep, I'm going to pick up a new trolling motor tomorrow as mine snapped in half.
Yeah, we fished Battle on the Bay 2 weekends ago. We ran 30 miles. It took us an hour and 40 minutes. Like, you guys were running like 75 miles, right?
Yeah, it was about 68 miles is actually what
Okay.
it was.
So that's double what I'm running. I can see how that takes 3.5 hours. That is an awful ride, and every wave just makes it worse.
But yeah, you talk about, when we thought we had it won, but I mean, I don't think there was a time where we actually confidently thought we had it won until it came down to the final three guys that were going to weigh in. I mean, when we had 21 pounds and we're looking at each other like, what do we do? And I'm thinking we need to at least get to 23, probably 24 to for sure take this. And then, it just came down to, do we need to make it back with, hopefully in one piece, not break too much, and when we actually took off, I mean, it felt good to leave, but at the same time, inside, I'm like, oh gosh, we probably should have stuck this out. We found another group of fish. It was a bang bang. Within 5 minutes, we upgraded 2.5 pounds, 3 pounds, I think it was, and it's like, oh, we can turn back on these and get them again. We did. We lined back up to do it again, but it's just like, you know what? It's not worth it. We're going to be competitive here. We knew we'd probably at least be in the top three. I'm like, that's okay. We also had a cameraman on board too. We got to think about him as well. I mean, he had a very rough ride back as well. So
we should probably call him and see how he's doing.
Yeah, we've had the same guy 2 years in a row now. The first year we fished this tour, we made the championship, and Scott was the guy on board. And unfortunately for us, with our inexperience, we had a strong blow the day one. Canceled the event. Day two, we're going back, oh yeah, our fish are still going to be there. And we went there and it was awful. Water temperature dropped 25 degrees.
Yeah.
We had no idea where to go from there. And so we went back into the river just to try to scramble and get some fish to weigh in. But again, that's the cool thing about this. Every year we've learned something. And even last year we went back up to the Sioux. I happened to be up there. We were camping with my family and we had a strong north blow. And I took the family over there, fished kind of the same area, and just to see what did we miss out there, and found out where the water went and kind of how it moves there. And so, when you're fishing against this level of teams and guys that have been around for 20, 30 years, you gotta push yourself to gain some knowledge and really understand what is happening in these big bodies of water. Now, I wouldn't say we're confident we're there yet, but I'll tell you what, there's not a team around that doesn't work harder and talk about this more than we do. I mean, we're spending a lot of time away from the families and our own kids, and we're going to do it. We're going to take it seriously and compete the best we can. And, it's just cool how this has all worked out. And again, to have a cameraman on board 3 years in a row, 2 championship wins is a good feeling. And plus we get to look back at that, which is even awesome.
Let's talk about the Michigan Walleye Tour for a second, because obviously it's always been a competitive deal, right? Saginaw Bay Walleye Club. It's a really nice tournament circuit. but it's really grown a lot over the last handful of years. You've got a lot of really big name anglers, guys that did not fish the national tour this year. Dean Arnoldson, you got John Gilman, David Kolb. You've got a lot of really good anglers fighting for Angler of the Year or Team of the Year points, fighting for championships, fighting for tournaments. What's it like being able to go up against guys that are just really, really good, really high quality anglers?
I mean, I think that's what's pushed us to get better. I've looked up to a lot of those guys. When I first started, and I think I said 3 years ago, I started fishing 4 years ago. I fished the National Walleye Tour as a co-angler in 2022. And, I would watch old videos of David Cole winning like Sault Ste. Marie or John Hoyer. Obviously, everyone knows John Hoyer winning, championships, everything like that. But looking up to some of these guys that have fished against these guys on the National Walleye Tour and won, and you also got Pete Schaefer too. Actually,
Pete is a stud.
Yep, fishes the Michigan Walleye Tour. Looking at how well these guys do and how consistent they are, and we knew that we had to be consistent also, and we had to try to. Looking at those guys, it gave us a drive, to do this. They work hard. They work very hard, and that's why they place as well as they do. And we knew we had to, work even harder to try to be to their level because we just don't have the experience that they do.
Sure.
They're doing something right because numbers keep going up for many teams are fishing the full season. So I don't have the experience in any of the other events. So I don't really have much input on that. But just to see the guys that are now joining the Michigan Walleye Tour and how consistent they are with the numbers that they put up. Even when we go north, we're still at, they're around 100 plus boats. I mean, that's pretty impressive when I look at all these other tours around the country, out west. They're doing something right, and we know we're thankful to be able to do what we're doing, but dang, it's just crazy that we're even doing this.
I think with the Michigan Walleye Tour the reason why I think their tour is doing so well is their rule book. I mean, that's their rules. There's no, it's black and white. Like if anything is out of place or like they even think that you sniffed something, like you broke a rule, you're done. You're disqualified. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like you're done. And that's kind of what I like about this tour is there's no gray area at all.
No, I think it's a pretty well put together, smooth running tournament. All their guys and volunteers are awesome people, and just just like Randy was saying, like when they're on the rule, like if your time to come back is 3:00, and as soon as if you're pulling in and it clicks 3:01, you're done. There is no, oh, well, maybe we could let you slide or this or that. It's just, you're done. Like, sorry. It's straight across the board to everybody. And that's the one thing I do like about it, too. I mean, they're fair about everything. And I think they got it pretty well figured out. Even when it comes to launching in the morning and putting boats on trailer, like, if you want to see 150 boats get put in the water in less than 30 minutes and then put back on the trailer, like they got it all figured out pretty well, and it's a pretty smooth running circuit, I believe.
Yeah, I don't think we've experienced any hiccups really at all. Even last year in Alpena, when we had a storm run through, I mean, all the guys are down there. They put us all lined up in a way that you would think there's no way we're going to get out and launch boats in a timely manner. And it was smooth. They always have a plan. They always have thought things through. So, I mean, hats off to the way they make this run. It is definitely impressive.
Yeah. It seems like a really fun atmosphere too, just as far as the circuit and weigh-ins and everything else. It seems like along with being a very well-run deal, it just seems like it's a lot of, it's very enjoyable.
Yeah, guys seem to hang around and support each other too. I mean, at weigh-ins, there's always people hanging out, and we fished the Loop this spring, and I was like, "Where is everybody? Like, there's nobody around. There wasn't many people. It's a great event.
It's
but
a great event.
There just wasn't like in the Michigan Walleye Tour when we have just there's fans around and families around and hanging out and the camaraderie." They say it's nothing against the Loop, but it was a different experience to actually fish something other than the Michigan Walleye Tour and not see as many people around, which maybe their main event it is. I think it was the casting event me and Randy did. So it may have been a little bit different at that time, but it was just weird to experience that and know what it's like in the Michigan Walleye Tour.
Do you guys have any superstitions as far as pre-tournament or during tournaments?
Not really. I mean, I don't think any of us really have any superstitions.
I always take a shower in the morning.
Yeah,
I always
does
have
do
my
that.
coffee, and I have a routine.
Yeah.
And I went off it last year. I didn't do the same thing I normally do, and I felt like crap all day. I'm like, I'm not. I did something off, and so now I make sure every single time, everything do. I feel great.
So he sticks to a routine. I don't know. I look at it as the fish are either going to be there or they're not. That's how I look at it.
Hey guys, today's show is brought to you by Walleye Nation Creations, lures built by anglers for anglers. From the death jig to crankbaits that drive big walleyes crazy, they've got the tools to help you land your next trophy. Make sure to gear up at walleyenationcreations.com.
So yeah, I'm kind of same thing like Randy. Like, there's nothing that makes me think you got to do this and that before every tournament. I just kind of, it's either gonna happen or it's not. And nope, I'm pretty much just tournament fishing is going off a lot of days in a row with very little sleep because I can't ever sleep because I'm nervous that the fish are gonna move or this or that's gonna happen. And yeah, usually the night before the tournament, it's like kid on Christmas. Like, you just lay in bed and just stare at the ceiling because you just want to get back in the boat and fish. But then at the same time, you're nervous because are your fish still there? Are they gonna bite? And
Yeah, the the best I've ever finished in an MWT was 4th. It was my first one, and I was in 12th after day 1, and I felt great. And I went to bed, and I woke up at 2:30 in the morning, and I was like, "What if I can't catch them today?"
Yeah. I would say this last championship though was the most relaxed I think I felt in all the tournaments. Even I mean it.
yes,
Again, it came down to they're going to be there, they're not. And,
we knew if they're there, we're going to catch them.
usually when you get cameraman on board, you're a bit more nervous. But at the same time, the last 2 years, we had the same guy. We knew who we were getting, and more excited just to have him on board. He's a good guy, and we've done well with him. And this last tournament, this last championship was a fun one. It was great to have. My family was there. We were all camping, so it's cool to have that support. And my wife took care of us the whole weekend too, and made sure we made dinner and took care of the kids and everything. And it was a good event.
What does it mean to your families to win an event like that, guys?
I mean, my dad was super stoked. I mean, he's always been competitive. He taught me to be competitive. I grew up playing paintball professionally. I know a lot of people think professional paintball, but it takes a lot of dedication too. So I just when I retired from paintball, I kind of put that same mindset into fishing also. I'm competitive. I always want to win. I want to be up there. I'm not just there to fish. I hate losing. And I think we're all kind of that way. My wife, she don't care either way. She's not too competitive, anything like that. My kids are always happy. If I come back and win. If I don't win, they're still there for moral support. Like, oh, it's okay, Dad. I'll let Chris and Shaun kind of explain how their families feel. But
I mean, I've got quite a bit of support in this car right now, so it's been pretty cool. It's a lot of time away from your family. And like I say, over the last 8 years, I've also coached travel softball in the summertime. So this year I was gone more than I ever had been, because I would literally go from a softball tournament, which was 5 days in a row, have 1 day to get down a pre-fish for the next tournament. That tournament would go over. I'd go back over to another state to coach softball. And I had 3 weeks at one point where I was home maybe half a day. It was rough, but I'm done doing that now. My oldest daughter, she's got 2 more years to go, and she's going to get coached by somebody else. And I'm gonna sit back with the rest of my family and try to support my younger 2 kids there and what they're doing sport wise. But my wife, she's been pretty supportive as far as we've been successful too, which probably helps. I mean, it's not like we're losing a ton of money on this right now. And when you're winning, everybody seems to be happy anyway. So maybe if there's a year where things don't go so well, it might change. But for right now, it seems to be okay.
Yeah, no, my family's always been real supportive with it, and I wanted to start doing this years ago, but I always thought like there's no way I can compete against these guys and just fishing my home lakes and my mom, grandma, dad, everyone's always just what's the worst gonna happen? You're gonna try it, you're not gonna do well. I mean, even when you don't, you still do because you learn something at every tournament, and that's right there makes you a better angler. And so that's when we started fishing a few years ago, and I was like, why not try it? And my dad's always pushed me to it, and he's gone he pre-fishes with me a lot of times, and I'll have him and a buddy come down and jump in my boat while we pre-fish for a handful of days, and Randy and Chris will run Randy's boat and pre-fish. We'll, cover different water, and yeah, and then even when we have a bad day on the water, call home or whatever, you kind of already tell, I'm not in a great mood, didn't fish well, or couldn't find them where they moved. And they just kind of give you that little positive talk that just go sleep it off and tomorrow's going to be better, new day, and go fish clean and do it all over again.
Awesome. Gentlemen, before we close this out, I try to close it out with a learning tip for everybody. If you had a learning tip, each one of you had a tip for somebody to be a better tournament fisherman, a better just fisherman in general, whether it's from the bank, whether it's somebody that's just getting into this weekend warrior stuff, or somebody who fishes the National Walleye Tour. What do you have for a tip?
You're never too shallow. That's going to be my tip. Just never too shallow. I absolutely love fishing shallow water. That's the number one thing is don't overlook, some of that 5 foot of water.
Yeah, I'd say too.
But if you hear a lot of people talk about, make sure time on the water, and for me though, like I say, I'll go to using forward facing sonar and casting. Like one thing I changed this year was I went to a thinner diameter braid, which helped me, I think, significantly over this summer. It cuts through the wind better. I was able to feel bites better. Make sure I was maintaining contact with the bottom better. So if you're using forward facing sonar, there's a lot of different braids out there. Try to stick with something the lightest you can get away with and the thinnest braid you can find, to be able to feel and have more control with your bait.
No, biggest thing with me is I think best tip is just if you want to learn something and get better, succeed in it, whether it's casting or trolling, is just don't give up and just give it your all and keep practicing it over and over and over, and then at some point it's gonna click. Like when it come to the whole live scoping, cast 50 foot, 30 foot, like you'd think 50 foot's a long ways away. It's really not. You don't even have to overhand cast. It's just a quick little flip. I mean, run a tape measure out 50 foot in your yard and throw a bucket out there and just sit there and flip. Because a lot of times too, when we're live scoping, you have one shot at these fish and you have to hit them in the face that first time and make your cast count. Or whether if it's, if you want to focus on getting better at trolling, like make sure your crankbaits are tuned. I mean, I talk about tuning crankbaits to a lot of people and they look at you like, what are you talking about? And, if you're running a bait that's not tuned, you may thinking you're 10 foot down, but you're not. Your bait's down there just rolling and doing whatever it feels like it, and just whatever trying to work on, just focus hard on it and just don't give up. I mean, the whole casting game to me, I wanted it bad and I kept trying. I'm like, all right, this is not going good, which just gave me that more extra drive to keep pushing forward. And then it just, one day you go out on the water and it just clicks, turns on like a light switch, and you're like, oh, well, this is easy. And then you just keep going from there.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are 2024 and 2025. I was just going to say 2025. I didn't want to mess it up. You're 2024 and 2025 Michigan Walleye Tour champions. Gentlemen, I appreciate you being on the podcast. Thank you for being here. Good luck. So maybe back to back to back.
Let's hope. We got to try. No, yeah, we appreciate your time.
We just need a Scott on the boat again. He's our lucky cameraman.
But yeah, we'll probably see you around on the National Walleye Tour
Yep.
next year. I think all three of us will probably be in some of them, but yeah, definitely have to find you there.
Awesome. Sounds great, boys. Appreciate it. Thanks for being on.
Thank you so much.
Have a
Take
good
care.
night,
you.
Brandon.